Right. So we were discussing about the choicelessness, which is a byproduct in the process of inquiry. Now, the second point on the screen says that inquiry cannot proceed when we blind to stimulation and suppression. It's quite repetition in terms of the agenda discussion, that the stimulation or suppression becomes our agenda, and when anything becomes our goal, the actual movement cannot be captured. The inquiry or the exploration of surrounding is to explore the actual movement of surrounding, not a conditional movement of surrounding. So the very difference between the natural movement and the conditional movement here plays the role. Any stimulation, any suppression has got a point to achieve. So the choices are nothing but the intention to stimulate or suppress whatsoever, anything. The choices are what? Whatsoever the choice that we may bring in. Is there any choice coming to anybody's mind which doesn't want to stimulate or suppress? If you dive deep into the choices, then as a byproduct, that choice dissolves because of its artificiality. There is no actual substance in any of the choices whatsoever that we make in life. When there is an artificiality which gets revealed, how can that bring sensation within you? Now, if the artificiality, after getting it revealed, is bringing a sensation within me, that is another artificiality that I am bringing. That is another choice that I am bringing. And I limit my understanding about that existence also, which is an artificial existence, for that matter, a pizza. If I look at pizza with hatred, then I'll block myself to the truth of the pizza and the impact that is bringing in me. Yes, Shilpi, you were saying something.
No, that very moment you gave the example of pizza. I was asking for an example.
Right. So here, what happens, the hatred, this is very common thing for any habit modification. For any habit, why a habit gets stagnated? Why a habit gets stagnated? If we ask and observe this phenomena, any habit formation, we were discussing about the addiction. Now, how the start of the addiction happens? Start of the addiction is a wow effect, is a special perception that we have towards that particular substance, which is bringing a sensation within me. That is what is the start of the addiction. It's a form of appreciation. And now when I realize over time the impact of addiction, I replace that appreciation with hatred. I replace that appreciation with hatred. Now I start hating that habit. Now the blockage of the movement of that particular habit happens because of the appreciation and continued because of the hatred. Both are forms of sensation from some or other ideas, that P3, P2 loop, and which is blocking the movement of that particular habit. Now, a revelation of this particular fact.
Sorry, how does it continue with the hatred? So I hate it and I continue it.
Yes, the hating actually continued to capture my energy. Appreciation also captures my energy. And that is why this particular habit, otherwise everything is moving. Nothing is permanent in our life. But this particular habit got permanency. Why? Because the energy needed to move this habit was captured in appreciation. It's quite similar to the Guruism, you know. You start praying a Guru. All people comes and go in your life, but this one individual is for years, he is taking a chair of Guru in front of you. Why? Because you are captured with the belief called appreciation, or whatsoever you call it. You started believing that he is a god or something like that. So that way, the habit also becomes your god, appreciating it. And the energy it needs to move is captured in appreciation. Now I replace that appreciation with hatred now, going forward. Now the same cycle is continued, just the form is changed from appreciation to hatred. The movement is captured in any way, in both the ways.
But then with hatred, I'm trying to not continue with that habit.
Yes. And trying to suppress it. If I suppress that, you know, yeah.
I understand the energy depletion in that, but does the habit continue or not, or it's irrelevant?
So see, anything in our life brings modification in its natural progression. No two actions are same, you know, naturally, unless we meticulously repeat it. Unless we meticulously repeat it like a computer does, no two actions are same. Can you understand this?
Yes.
Now, this habit is repeating by itself. This habit is repeating by itself. Why? Because the optimum energy that it needs to bring a fresh movement is lacking. Because of that wow effect or this demeaning effect. In both the ways. Both are two forms of captured energy, you know, the appreciation and hatred. Both are bringing a conclusion within me of considering something exclusive. Are you able to understand the similarity?
I'm thinking that because of the conflict that the hatred has brought in, earlier it was appreciation, so it was still resonating with my action. Now, because of the conflict that the hatred has brought into me, I am still, so the energy is zapped, and which is needed to break the habit. That energy is gone into hatred, from appreciation into hating that thing. And it is in fact probably taking more energy because of the conflict it is bringing in.
Yes, and I would just propose a modification in the word that breaking the habit, if we can replace it with dissolving the habit. So breaking also will bring an intention
Energy.
to
Yes.
get over, and that will be a miniature of hatred.
Yes.
You see, that is a miniature of hatred. I want to break it. But it gets dissolved on its own when you look at it without any intention, because it is what to move. There is a lack of natural movement because of my blockages that I have created due to my ideated sensation, P3P2.
I'm thinking that same thing also happens with healthy, like, the natural living.
Yes. So when we are aware of the so-called quote unquote right food, then we become obsessed about the food. You know, next proceeding slides will be covering that.
And if we have some good habits, a person over time has good habits of eating more raw food, or getting up early and taking a bath, and certain such things, sleeping early. exposing to sunlight and such things. So those are also sort of habits only which have developed into my system.
Yes, if I,
So
yeah,
yeah,
if
so
I'm following it
do
as a
do they
prescription,
also capture the energy?
yes, if I'm following it as a prescription, as a discipline regime,
No,
it definitely can.
they are happening by themselves. Like no, not a thought process, but a inquiry
That's a
and
natural life one is
experience.
leading. There's nothing good or
Yeah.
bad about it. It's a natural life
Hmm.
one is leading. It's a life with freedom. Obviously, if
Freedom.
that means the individual is responding to the physical information around without any influence. The actual responses are eating fruits. Actual natural responses are sleeping during the natural darkness, moving the joints. These are the natural responses. So if that individual is responding to these natural physical responses, then it's a life with freedom, inquiring life, obviously. But if by chance it is an enforced discipline proposed by some guru that these things you have to get up at 4, that natural person might get up at 9 o'clock sometime if he is not feeling good and there is no remorse about it. But this individual who was enforced and tasked to get up at 4, if by chance he gets up at 9, there is a lot of guilt. See the difference? So action cannot define the actual sensation of the individual. You have to inquire a bit deeper to explore that. So ultimately, what is an inquiry? Inquiry is nothing but observation of the sensation. Observation of the sensation that is happening within. It is not about exploring the external things and finding a reason externally. It is about looking at myself. So this is, in that aspect, it is very easy game. It's very effortless. We were talking about the effortlessness in inquiry because it is available within me. Within this existence, it is available always. My sensation is happening within my body always. So I need not to look around to continue my inquiry. It is in every moment, what is the sensation that is happening here? If I can look at this. And how the sensation can be observed? The breathing pattern, the heartbeats. These are very prominent sensation that one can observe. If there is a change in the heartbeat, if there is a change in the breathing pattern, why it is happening? Is there a lack of air around me? I have to breathe very deeply or put an effort? Or is there something from the idea side affecting my sensation? And I started breathing abnormally. Can I ask myself?
So idea means a thought has come and those
Yes.
thoughts are influencing
Yes.
now the
So,
physiology.
yes, identifying the physical reason is very easy. Identifying idea is the toughest thing. Now, when you have a disturbance, you hold back and observe the sensation and find out if there is a physical reason, which could be a toxemia within your body. It's an actual pain that you are experiencing, which is also a physical thing. Now, what happens, if we take up the example of physical pain, there are a lot of prognosis being proposed by many people that this pain is there, that means this is the problem. You are going to have this problem progressively if you are not treating yourself. This kind of proposal keeps on coming. Now, the physical aspect, that you have a pain and that pain gives you some indication. For example, if I have a pain in my wrist and I am not able to move it like this, then I should not move it. Or sometime I explore that, can I move it somewhat? Can I move it somewhat? Then slowly and gradually I can move it. There's a simple physical response. Now, if I have this pain and I am not treating, then there is going to be a gangrene. The proposal comes from someone. Don't take it very casually. Get it treated. Otherwise, there is going to be a gangrene in your wrist. And if I start believing it, what does it mean? Another sensation that I'm allowing to happen within me. So I have a pain physically, and now I have a pain psychologically also. And both are happening in the physiological domain. And clubbing together, it is a multifolded pain that I am sensing.
Can you please repeat this last point, how it gets multifold?
Yes. So I have an actual physical pain. This example, this hand pain. Now, what is a fact for me? I have this pain, and from body, I'm getting some indication from restriction in the movement. So I will definitely restrict my movement without abstinating the movement. I may try to explore. Can I move it little more? Can I move it little more? These kind of things. You look at the other organism. They also respond to the physical pain. That way, morning we were discussing about the cats and dogs. So that way, if I am responding to this, which I am crafted to, which I am structured to, then slowly and gradually that pain will go off, and does go off in most of the cases. Now, suppose along with this, the pain that I am experiencing, some proposal came out. Maybe I have Googled myself. Nobody else has given, but I have Googled myself that the prognosis of wrist pain. So prognosis proposed, some side proposed that it may lead to a gangrene or cancer of the wrist. And I start believing it. That my wrist pain is leading to cancer, which might be fact. Leave it. It has not arrived. The cancer stage is not arrived yet. But right now, believing that prognosis, I get a fear inside. And that fear is a sensation within my body, physiologically, chemically. And I already have some discomforting sensation in terms of the pain. So both are the sensation happening physiologically within my chemistry. So clubbing these together.
First, the idea I have accepted.
Yes.
P3.
Yes. From
and
P3,
P3, it has converted to P2.
P2. And
Already I
initially
was
from
having
P1,
a P2.
From P1 to P2, I was having already. Now from
Having
P3
already.
to P2, I started having, and this is
Secondary.
the secondary sensation, and which is in loop. Which is in loop. The fear never stops, Once it started, it will go multifold, unless it is inquired. There are tactics to get rid of fear by defocusing. That is a suppression of fear. That is not dissolving of the fear. That you focus on something else, the fear goes away as if.
It will come back when the same topic is raised, or same pain is felt.
Yes.
It will be
unless it is inquired that why am I concluding this particular proposal or prognosis. That could be a possibility, but it is just a possibility. Still, something has happened, it has not happened. That's a fact. And how and why should I believe it till it happens?
Moreover, if I accept that possibility,
yes,
then also the fear will sort of dissolve. If cancer happens to many people, if it happens to me, maybe I am also one of them. See, I am fearful of that cancer or gangrene. That is a possibility. One person maybe, but then if I accept that right from the beginning, okay, if it is happening to me, it was bound to happen.
Yes. So isn't that a fact for all the possibilities?
Yeah.
It is a fact for all the possibilities. Suppose there are hundreds of possibilities enlisted, and I'm bound to accept it. what else other option do I have other than accepting it and dealing with it? So if that's an inquiring, absolutely, that inquiring knack, if one has, then will accept whatever the physically coming. So the conflicts are sensed in the physiology to begin with. So all the conflicts, be it coming from the physical side or psychological side, it happens in the physiology, in the sensation domain. And that is the primary area of confusion, because it is happening in the chemistry. I start considering both the same. Both the same. I start convincing myself, because of the pain, I'm getting scared. Because of the pain, I'm not getting scared. Because of the idea of the prognosis, I'm getting scared. If we dive deep, we can explore that. Now,
these conflicts are sensed in the physiology to begin with. Do they then progress to psychological thing, or like conflicts are sensed, but the conflict begin as an idea in the psychological realm?
yes, yes.
And then it is sensed, and then it is sensed in the physiology.
Yes, yes. So here
Here
the
you have
physiology
written
is very crucial. Why? Because it is giving a concretization of the conflict. When idea is just moving and you are inquiring about it and you are not believing, okay, this could be one possibility. I'm not denying that. I'm not accepting that. Let it happen. Let it come. Then I don't have any other option but to accept and go with it. So it's a physiology that gives the vicious cycle a fuel.
So once the psychologically it is accepted, then it becomes the physiology. Once I've accepted
psychologically,
that,
when it is arriving as a perception, and I have believed it. I don't know whether it's called acceptance or not. I have believed it. I have concluded it. Because in psychology, in perception domain, all possibilities, all possible options can come up. You know, that tomorrow I'll get cured. The wrist pain will go off. It will stay for 2 years. It will convert into cancer. It may lead into amputation of hand. So this way, hundreds of possibilities can be enlisted at the idea level.
Yes.
But how does it matter? Till it happens, it hasn't happened.
So why it gets accepted? What particular thing? Why the person is choosing from the psychological to physiological?
That's the impact of the psychological hedonism. That's the impact of psychological hedonism. It may be because this cannot be concluded outright as a general reason, but if we pick up any particular fear of any individual, then we'll if we unlayer it, then we'll find that there is some hedonistic behavior bringing this particular knack in that individual, which is very much structured in our in the organism structurally, physically, but that gets transported and shifted to the psychological domain. That's the primary reason of getting affected by one of the possibilities. That may have different dispositions. Yes, Shilpi.
Isn't that the basic stimulation of pleasure tendency to to avoid any to avoid fearful situations?
Yes, it's a natural response to avoid fear, avoid any discomforting sensation, for that matter. It's a natural response, because without that, we'll not be able to conserve energy. But there's a confusion because of the physiological domain, because it is happening. Sorry. It's happening in the physiological domain only, that sensation, and it becomes a confusion for the individual to begin with. You know? Now, when we are,
So
yes,
won't it come in the physiology? It's not a biological likelihood that it will come in the physiology naturally.
what? From idea to physiological sensation, are you saying?
Yeah, it is not natural.
So, what do you call natural? That's a question, if I may ask.
That is not tampered with
A condition,
a condition.
right? So here
Yeah.
it is tampered with a condition, if you see, because it is customized by everyone in their own way. And as Dr. Kaur was asking, that one particular individual is picking up one of the options and believing in it. What is the reason? This reason is absolutely customized by the individual, and that is what is the condition. You know, under a condition, if you are sensing something under a particular condition, which is imaginary, which doesn't have its existence, it's an idea. Now I have concluded that inside me. So it's a tremendous effort that I have to put forward to convince myself that as a truth, which is not a truth, which is in the idea. That idea is not a truth. So now I am trying to convince myself, I'm trying hard to convince myself that that is a truth. Do you see a tremendous requirement of energy there?
But if I'm believing in it, then my belief, I'm sorry, but these are probably very basic questions.
Yes, please go on.
But when I'm believing in something, isn't that actually saving energy? Because I'm not sitting on the fence on it. It is.
What is a belief?
I've decided, belief.
I've concluded
Yeah.
something.
Yes.
In truth, can there be anything concluded?
No, not.
These are the basic questions.
We are understanding it.
No,
now
not how we are understanding it in particular, but otherwise. Otherwise, the belief has got a target always. And when one is asked that what is beyond this target? What is beyond this target? So target means always a conclusion, an agenda. Again, the same word is repeated perhaps, but it's needed to bring some clarity that one particular point is framed as a target, as a goal of life. The belief always has a goal, as a point, a destination. You know, are you able to comprehend?
Yes.
Or something else is coming to your mind?
So when I have a target, again the same thing, that because it's an agenda driven thing, and then I actually reach that place,
then what next?
Then what next? And so it goes on, and hence
no, what next? When I'm asking and framing another target, that means so far I was bluffing myself.
Yes.
And I'm ready to bluff further. I'm ready to bluff further.
What if that is seen as part targets in life? A lot of people will say this is how One is to live life, that you set a target, you achieve it, then you go to the next and you achieve it, and
Yes, yes.
that is how you
Yes.
save your energy. You
Yeah,
don't
that's what
questioning it all the time.
that's what was the loose planning that we were talking about. That is in any way going to happen in life. You need not to worry about that, because life
Then
means a lot of actions. That
what you're
actions.
saying is, yes. So sorry, what you're saying then is that when it becomes fixation in our mind,
Yes.
that if this doesn't happen, then I am
My
devastated.
life is shattered if it is not achieved. If it is achieved, then it's an excellent achievement of life.
Yeah.
So in both the ways, if I'm obsessed about it, that is what is the belief. We call it in different names.
Yes, fine.
So now when I'm overwhelmed with sensation, then in all possibilities, we try to suppress and deny that sensation. That is another layer of sensation and burdening for me. For some time, I'm just facing somewhere else and denying the existence of this sensation, which is happening. That cannot help us to get rid of it.
So this sensation is a feeling?
Sensation is feeling, happening within the physiology. Physiology.
It's a
Physiology.
thought also?
Chemical. Thought contributes to sensation, quite equivalent, but thought is a perceptory domain which brings sensation as feeling, emotion.
Emotions.
Yes, yes.
And do they have that 5 senses element also in that?
So
Sensation.
5 senses also bring sensation. 5 senses also bring sensation, and thought also brings sensation.
So
and
thought belongs to the perception only.
Thought belongs to perception.
It's not a sensation.
Thought is a concluded thinking, concluded perception, stagnated perception. Many names we can call it. So when we have concluded any perception, that we call a thought. And that conclusion happens in the body level. Without the involvement of the physiology, conclusions cannot happen. So the mind, the confusion of the mind being considered in only the psychological domain is something limited. We need to understand the phenomena which involves a sensation. Then only we'll be able to understand the whole mind, the operations of the mind.
So mind includes the thought and feelings and emotion.
Yes.
Mind.
So mind actually is contributed by the sensation. Ultimately, mind is an activity of the brain, but the brain actually gets dented with each perception. Now that perception may come from the physical side, it may come from the ideated sensation side. And when it comes from ideated sensation side, it is repeated. It dents on the mind repeated. And the mind becomes overwhelmed. That's a thought process.
Thoughts do the thoughts dent the brain?
Yes.
Thoughts?
When we are overwhelmed with thoughts, that overwhelming of the thought is nothing but a loop of sensation and perception and sensation. Perception and sensation. P3, P2, P3, P2. That actually all.
But sensation includes mostly the feeling, no? Emotions, feelings.
Sensation is emotion. Yes. Which is fueled by the thoughts. Here, in this case of ideated sensation. Yes. The last session will be resuming with 5 minutes of silence. Silpi, it's okay? You are muted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just saying, if there is a half a minute, I was just saying that if my thought is just going and coming, then it's like that responsive memory that I'm.
Yes, I'm not concluding. The perception, I'm not